Title, quote, "It always seems impossible until it is done." Nelson Mandela. Titles, Millersville and Temple Universities are part of the Pennsylvania Inclusive Higher Education Consortium. This consortium is made up of dozens of diverse and influential colleges and high schools that promote inclusive higher education. The consortium is part of a national network called Think College, which is dedicated to developing, expanding, and improving inclusive higher education options for people with intellectual disability that lead to meaningful employment opportunities. This film shows how inclusive higher education creates a sense of belonging for students like Missy, Curtis, Janet, and Fudia. Title, Opening Doors to College. A film by Dan Habib. Two swans float across a pond. Title, Millersville University, Millersville, Pennsylvania. In a classroom.
From a professional and a human perspective, the most important thing I think for social workers is to understand, well, what does that mean to you? But we also have to recognize that this is happening in this greater context of things where there's those social injustice, where people have been put in boxes, where sweeping generalizations about populations have been made. Does that make sense? Does that sound about right?
A couple students smile.
All right.
One goes to her dorm with her roommate.
This is your Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And
I think I saw your profile on my Facebook. You're beautiful in this picture.
Thank you.
Absolutely stunning.
She wears a prom dress.
Oh, someone's angry.
Later, she's in a common room.
Hi, Missy. How are you?
Good.
Missy sits at her laptop.
What are we working on today?
Missy Jackson, Millersville student, Integrated Studies.
Homework.
Mark Masoner, student, educational support coach.
I have homework too.
When we started this program, I had a professor call me on the phone and said, there is no place at this university for people with intellectual disability.
Thomas J. Newville.
I said, do you know that a little over 100 years ago, your peers said there's no place at this university for women, or people who are African American, or people who are Latino, or people who have physical disabilities? We've been segregating people a long time, and it has not worked. Maybe we should try something else.
In a lecture hall.
Do you like that clean acoustic guitar sound? It's a thin texture, right? And it makes
Director of Integrated Studies, Jan Bechtel.
Integrated Studies is a fully inclusive initiative for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to come and have a fully inclusive college experience. So that's everything from academics, social, residential, and personal well-being.
A man speaks to Missy in an office.
The program's been in existence since 2014. We started with 1 student, and now we have 16.
What have you successfully overcome?
In another of Missy's classes.
Right?
Bechtel.
Integrated Studies students also work on vocational career exploration and building relationships. So it helps them grow as individuals and also in terms of their career and their future. They're admitted as full-time non-degree seeking students. They receive a university-approved certificate. It's a meaningful credential, and it's modeled right after our own Millersville University diploma.
In another lecture hall.
All right, excellent. Okay, what other call to action might there be? Yeah.
The developmental upgrades of NFL equipment for player safety.
Okay, the use of it.
Professor
All right,
Victor Capici.
So let's frame it this way. To mandate the use of more protective equipment in football. I'm rephrasing it a little bit. Does that make sense? So
Integrated
that
Study
might be
student Curtis
another
Ostrowski nods.
Call to action.
Curtis.
My aunt texted my mom about this program, and as soon as I got that message, I put my laptop down, rushed to the library, and got everything I needed to apply.
Theo Brady.
When people say college is not for students with intellectual disability, then you're going to continue to oppress.
Adjunct Professor, Disability Studies.
We got to be very intentional about basic civil rights. Everyone needs an opportunity to participate. We need to open doors instead of close doors. That means a little bit more investment of your time as a professor. That's what we do with any student.
Missy opens the door.
In the Deep South, white America oppressed Black America.
In class.
Separate schools, separate classrooms.
She listens with other students.
You have those kind of traditions and customs that you think is okay because you see it every day. You got used to it. But all along, it was oppressive. And that's the same thing happened today with disability.
She walks down a hall.
Because I didn't get no homework. None.
She reads a note on a door.
So I just like,
She sits in a chair nearby.
I'm not coming back to E-Card. I took to go to college so I can go and get homework and start going. So I go look at the new teachers.
Bechtel.
Missy has, in her time here so far, developed a great deal in her self-advocacy. When she first came, she was really reluctant to talk. There were some students on campus that would call her names and things, and I think that made her go more inward.
Professor Onek Adianga.
Missy has a bit of challenges speaking, but that should not detract from the fact that she has a mind of her own. She can try, as difficult as it is, to express herself. There's nothing more important than bringing a perspective of the world based off your education in society.
Yeah, not me.
In a gym, Curtis walks on a treadmill.
Ostrowski is a very, very brilliant person. When he got out of his shell, Ostrowski became one of the most vocal students in the classroom.
Title: Curtis drops in to see his former professor, Onek Adianga, during office hours.
Hey. Come in. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. Yeah, registration is coming. Have you decided on courses you'll be taking?
I picked out one so far.
Which one is that?
Psychology.
Psychology.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Have you spoken with the professor?
No, not yet.
Find time to talk to the professor.
I'm definitely coming back here.
Anytime, man, anytime. I'll always love to see you.
Man, as I was walking down the hall, I was like, oh man, I'm seeing Onek.
Trust me.
Because you had confidence in me.
You remember what I told you earlier? Anything that you want to do, you can do it. Do not let anybody tell you that you can't. In this world, it's the effort that you put into something, not what people tell you.
Think of how we could have lost that voice, that prominent voice. Not only is Curtis Ostrowski a better person, his classmates became better students as well.
Title: Quote, Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. People walk on another campus marked with Temple University flags, red with a white T. Title: Temple University, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Two young women walk in a hall.
I know she wanted to do today because she couldn't do Wednesday.
Okay, so
in class.
There's a lot of vernacular movement styles in this. Moves of the people. Moves that are done in communities, that are done in homes.
Janet Caesar, student, leadership and career studies.
I told my sister I wanted to come to college, and she was like, really? You really sure you want to come to college? Because it's hard. I was like, yeah, I think I can do it. She was like, I believe you can do it too.
The other young woman, student and educational coach Olivia Quinn, sits by Janet listening to dance professor Rhonda Moore.
Players took all of those moves and brought them into their acts, the comics, the singers, dancers, is dipping back to all the things that they were watching on TV from the past. So let's move the chairs. You all seem so lively.
She rolls her eyes. Once they do move the chairs, she leads them in clapping as they step back. Then they form pairs and clap each other's hands. Janet and Olivia do it together.
Almost good, 5, 5, 6, here we go.
They all step forward and clap side to side. They do the same stepping back. Janet.
They sent me a letter and they was like, congratulations, Miss James Caesar, you got into Temple University. I'm jumping for joy, crying and everything. And I told my sister I got into Temple University. And she came home, almost cried.
The class keeps dancing.
Why not? Why not? I love it, actually, here at Temple. I'm making all these new friends. I always want the experience to see what it's like, what people does here.
Her sister, Adina Holmes.
She's made new friends here. She's gotten much more dedicated about studying, and she's really grown.
Program Director Linda Miller.
Leadership in Career Studies is a program for students who have intellectual disabilities and/or on the autism spectrum. It's a 4-year program here at Temple University, and students are fully engaged in this vibrant urban campus. They take undergraduate classes with other students. They are members of student organizations and really are involved in the full spectrum of activities here on campus.
Coordinator Titania Bodie.
Some of the classes that our students have expressed interest in are classes like criminal justice, political science. There's a lot of history courses that have been taken. In Janet's case, she's really into the arts. They also work with a coach who's an undergraduate student who lives on or off campus, who provides both academic and social supports.
Janet.
Well, I have an intellectual disability, but even though I still have a little delay, I'm still normal just like everybody else. I'm proud that I am who I am.
With mentor Kylie Billing.
Did you register for classes for next semester?
I sure did. I know I wanted to take criminal justice, then I would take...
Miller.
Leadership in Career Studies is an opportunity for them to develop their career aspirations. There are many opportunities for them to do internships, to do job discovery, with the whole goal of having people have a integrated competitive job when they're done with the program.
Janet and Kylie enter a building, then escort children into a room. Janet.
And I'm in a pre-K class.
A teacher watches.
I work with 4-year-olds. They like to run around, they be busy, but they're very sweet and they fun. They'll call me Miss Janet.
They work with kids at a table.
Some of them have trouble writing letters or numbers, and I kind of help them with that.
With a boy who holds a marker.
Want to make it circles? Want some circles?
He lets her have the marker.
So, you do a circle like this. You want a small?
She gives it back.
See how you do a circle?
Hey, now you're messing me up.
How?
She's not trying to mess him up. She's trying to help.
Janet.
By me being in college, I'm preparing them, let them know, okay, it's okay to come to college. It's okay to be scared, to want to do so. Because I was scared when I first came, so it's okay.
They all stand and dance.
You do like this?
The girl demonstrates for Janet. Miller.
We've had students who liked security, so they've worked at Temple Police. Someone was interested in being a seamstress, so they worked in our theater department. So it's the full range.
Janet walks with the girl to the end of a hallway, and they walk outside. Janet.
And it would land me more jobs because I had a class with child development, and I'm good with kids. Since I did my internship, it kind of put me more further in my career.
They run together. Adina.
My long-term hopes and goals for Janet were for her to be working in a field that she's always going to be happy in, something that she's really passionate about, and working towards self-sufficiency. And she's really been doing an excellent job at that thus far. So where she won't be needing the big sister much longer, but I'm proud of her.
The kids play on a play structure with the Philadelphia skyline in the background. Title, quote, "It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." Audre Lorde. Back at Millersville, Capici leads a small class, including Curtis.
All right, so let's figure out who's on the panel so we can move forward. Who's on the panel?
I'll go.
All right, excellent.
Curtis changes seats.
All right, who do we have first here today?
Now, what if I told you that you can make a little extra money on, a small streaming site called YouTube? An average user makes approximately $2 to $3 for both kinds of advertisements per 1,000 views. It is definitely possible to make more than that, though, with the prime success story being PewDiePie. This YouTube powerhouse made over $12 million from YouTube ads in 2017.
Anybody ready? Yes, sir.
Sure.
You were loud, but in a good way. You projected yourself well, I guess.
Curtis.
You had a great intro, really cool topic considering my sister's trying to get into YouTube. So it was very informational, just well done.
Later.
As of September 11th, 2001, the original mission of the Chemical Corps was to protect the forest, was expanded to a new role with Homeland Security.
Curtis.
That snap at the end just like killed the mood.
Later, he walks through a building.
Whenever I meet someone new, I feel like for me it's important to like share my balance issue with them.
Out in the snow.
I gotta be careful because my shoes don't have the best traction.
He crosses a wet parking lot.
I like stumble or fall down a lot.
He walks on another paved area by a building with a clock tower as light snow falls.
I can't have alcohol, which I'm fine with because at least I don't get a beer belly. So.
In better weather, Missy walks with two young men.
I'm going to go home.
In a cafeteria, some young women chat with Missy as she sits with them.
Can I come to get quiet or get quiet, go call? I can't call. The can I get quiet or go call?
She reads in a common room. Curtis walks to a building.
This one guy in high school, he just said, "Dude, are you drunk or something?" And I mean, I try to ignore it, but inside it kills you.
Bechtel.
On the face of it, you would meet Curtis, and he's quite articulate and thoughtful. And people would question, why would he choose integrated studies rather than pursuing a regular degree with supports? There's an invisible disability that you may not be aware of that kind of impacts his thought process and the way that he approaches things and his ability to organize things. We help them build capacity to take them in the direction they want to go, whether it's a typical degree or whether it is remaining with integrated studies and pursuing their career.
Curtis.
At the very beginning last semester, I really didn't step out of my shell too much, but this year I feel like I have somewhat more people I can go and talk to. And
Curtis sits eating with Missy and a couple other young women.
I want them to play like Travis Scott's new album.
Yes, that's a great album.
What's your favorite song?
Sicko Mode, where it does the transition from like it's like two different songs in one.
That first beat change is life changing.
Yeah.
I like the one with 21 Savage.
Oh.
NC-17.
That's what it's called?
Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend? You doing anything fun?
I'm working on Sunday.
Where do you work?
He points.
Right there.
Catering?
Yeah. I had a 13-hour shift on Saturday.
So one of the biggest challenges that many students face is the cost of college.
Bechtel.
Students in integrated studies are required to have a job by the end of the second semester because we really feel that campus employment is a good way to get their feet wet. Many of them have never had a job.
Newville.
There's some recent data that indicates that people with intellectual disability who have not attended an inclusive post-secondary ed initiative are employed at the rate of 17%.
Curtis signs in at a reception desk.
Students who have graduated from our initiative are employed at the rate of 85%.
Curtis looks through library shelves.
My manager gives me a list of books that I have to find and bring back to the front desk for other people to check out.
He looks at books on a cart.
It's a little stressful on my eyes because I'm a big dude and sometimes the books are like way down here.
Kneeling, he checks a bottom shelf.
We try to keep it
Newville.
So that folks can come here if they want to, no matter what their financial resources are. And we have been vigorously building a scholarship fund.
Mark sits with Missy.
Go to Dr. Brady's class. Let's look at your other class.
They stare at her laptop.
That one right there. Pre-colonial Africa.
Bechtel.
Each student has an educational support coach, one or more. Coaches are undergraduate students and also graduate students that work with them in support, academics, career exploration, building relationships, independent living. And so the role of the coach is to kind of help model the role of a student, then to help students to advocate and develop that confidence to advocate.
I have a 15-page paper that I have to write for one of my classes.
Oh, God.
So you can help me write it.
No, thank you.
Professor Kathleen M. Walsh.
So I want you to take 30 seconds to make some notes about one thing that you did during your break.
Social work class.
Or even in the last couple days that celebrated your strengths. And I know that this is hard.
Missy looks up at her.
Because it's really hard to say nice things about ourselves.
I'm grateful for my mom and dad, just like you.
Student Elia Hall, who makes Missy laugh.
Yeah, they do a lot for me, so it's great to have them. I'm grateful for my sister and brother, too. Nothing movie, nothing TV. Go outside.
Walsh joins her.
What are some of your strengths?
Wait.
Can I tell you what I see?
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite things about you is that you are always here and you're always on time and early.
Walsh crouches in front of her.
And you are always a part of the conversation. Like you're always, I know that you are hearing me. It's really, I think it's such an important thing.
She stands.
When we're talking about the capacity to tackle injustice, engage in conversations about difference, we also have to be able to engage in conversations about similarities. What brings us joy, what unifies us rather than what divides us. And it leads us to empowerment, where we are trying to...
One of the first things we do with students when they're admitted to integrated studies is person-centered planning, and that is in the form of a path.
A large mind map hangs on her dorm wall.
I guess that's I could give.
And so you have like your dreams and your goals, your first steps.
Yeah, and it's not cold. And
Bechtel.
And so we bring all the family and anyone who is significant them together, and then we kind of plan out what their hopes and dreams are and how we can contribute to that with their time at Millersville.
Missy's roommate scrolls on her phone.
So these girls, I know two of them. That's me in this photo when I was in dance. I'm a dancer.
If I have a segregated class on how to take care of your room, they're not going to listen to me.
Bechtel.
But if they live with a roommate and they see how their roommate takes care of their room or doesn't take care of their room, that's where the learning takes place.
Capici lectures as Curtis listens.
About changing direction, going from...
We have a long history of designing services for people with intellectual disability that are separate from.
Newville.
You'll find some campuses that have designed specific classes just for the student with an intellectual disability. It's well-meaning, it's well-intentioned, it's not going to work out well.
Missy smiles in her class.
You simply cannot prepare someone to live in the ordinary world by having them in a separate setting. It only prepares them for the unordinary.
Curtis.
I don't like the online class so much.
Have you signed up for your classes next semester yet?
They sit in a dining area.
I haven't. I don't know what I'm gonna
Do you have a boyfriend?
do. Yeah. I mean, we were friends before we did anything. So I known him for 9 years.
Damn.
We're dating and seeing where it goes.
Many will ask why college is so critical for students with disabilities, particularly students in integrated studies with intellectual disabilities. And I would say that
Bechtel.
Why should they not have the opportunity to develop as human beings and experiment with different careers and figuring out who they are and building relationships like typical peers do?
He smiles with some other people. Title, quote, "Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself." John Dewey. At Temple, Gregory M. Anderson,
The Leadership and Career Studies program fits in multiple ways into the mission of the College of Education.
College of Education Dean.
We have a social justice mission and a set of values that's based on supporting students with the principles of inclusion, really driving what we do. We think it's emblematic of an inclusion mission that isn't just based on things that we normally associate with inclusion, like race or ethnicity or class, but recognizing the true diversity of our humanity.
Two young women walk together.
I am a freshman, and I'm so glad to have this. I thought I never get into college, to have this opportunity to get in, and I'm so excited to have classes as the same as other students and stuff.
Fudia Kameka.
Like us, we don't want to get into stuff like that, and I thought that I wouldn't get in, but I did.
They sit with others.
I was happy, excited, just to get to experience like other kids and stuff, to have like a college life, hang out with my friends, and go to the football game, the homecoming game and stuff. I did all that.
She laughs with them.
In high school, I have to be with a teacher all the time and stuff, so it was not like any independent there. And my mom always got to make sure that I'm there and taken care of and stuff.
I adopted Fudia when she was 6. I brought her home from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Her mother, Liz Meyer.
All the specialists told me that she was very bright and that the learning piece would probably click in. It was just her lack of exposure, lack of nutrition, all those kind of things. Then around 11 or so, I decided to have a psych ed eval, and it showed what I thought to be an intellectual disability.
Fudia is shown in a photo as a young girl.
Fudia's life in Sierra Leone was very traumatic. She was there during Civil War. She lost her father. She came home with severe malnutrition. She was 6, and she was the size of about a 2 or 3-year-old. The reason we're here at Temple is she stood out in her high school. Her teacher said to me, Liz, you've got to apply for this program. And I was I didn't understand. I said, how is that going to work?
She was more nervous than I was.
Fudia.
A nervous, worried mom.
Title, Fudia's Circle of Support meeting with fellow Temple students. Alone.
College is not like high school. It's totally different. Like, it's not, they don't really have much drama, and there's no fighting there. It's more like independent.
We had said
in the meeting
that you had a presentation to finish and your homework to finish.
Yep.
So did you finish all that?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
It's like talking like grown up and having a civilized conversation.
Miller.
There's always one person who's there for the students to be supportive to the student, as well as this team approach based on a circle of support.
Maybe it was that one that you guys were talking about. No, thank you.
The idea is that the student is really learning how to manage his or her own supports, which is so important in the adult world because you really need to know what support you need in order to get a quality of life.
Have your meeting for your internship?
Yeah, I did. It was yesterday. Yeah, it was good. Good? I told her that I'm going to do childcare the most.
We want to be invisible, that students are just seen as any other student on Temple University's campus.
So what are your plans with or without your coaches coming up on campus?
I'm going to be in an outdoor club.
Okay.
I was going to be in an outdoor club this year, too, but I think it was too late. Yeah, and the baking club.
A coach types.
Baking club.
What other club are there I could join?
Were you on the list?
Liz.
I think I've just gotten more comfortable that there's enough scaffolding to hold her up.
Student Moira Smith walked with Fudia to the Student Center.
The classwork is a little bit hard. I had 2 of them, leadership communication and interpersonal communication. The chapter was very hard and stuff, like a lot of reading, a lot of writing.
At a table.
He said he's like a speed, like slidden.
Moira checks what she's reading.
Slipping. I don't even drive at all right now. I want to. No, not even.
No? You don't want to?
I do want to. My mom will take me. She don't like driving because she don't think I should drive because it's not really. It's not really worth driving and stuff. You live in a city and stuff. You live close to everything. So walk.
In high school, the expectations were less than they are now, and I think she's risen to the occasion.
In class.
Specifically thinking about the dance.
How old were the people who created the first hip hop dances?
Guest presenter, dance experience class, Mark Metal Wong.
They were like 11 years old, 10, 11, 12 years old. Even though it was invented by like these literal children, it really quickly evolved into a very complicated, very artistically and aesthetically deep art.
Fudia.
Going to classes with other kids is fun. Get to learn different things and stuff. And I like to dance.
Why? Why did hip hop happen?
It was probably like a social movement.
Yeah, it definitely was a social movement.
Like a rebellion.
I think like the most basic thing that hip hop is expressing is I am here and I'm alive and I'm a person. And for a 10-year-old living in the Bronx where like nobody thinks that you are ever gonna grow up to be anything, to say that and express that is a very, very important thing.
Fudia is very passionate about dance.
Bodhi.
I foresee her possibly participating in an internship here on campus where she's engaged with the film, media, and dance department.
Again, to add a little bit of the Latin American influence, hip twist on the back step.
Wong leads the class. Liz.
This is only her freshman year. I can't believe how quickly it's gone. And I've seen actually an increase in her reading ability.
She and Moira try to follow Wong's next steps.
Look, I didn't think college was possible for Fudia, and here she is. So I don't say never or no to anything.
Anderson.
Having students with disabilities in classes has focused our faculty on seeing the true diversity of the learning experience and the true diversity of the student body. It's compelled our faculty to reflect on their practice. So it actually makes us better teachers, makes us better professors, makes us better scholars and researchers.
Fudia.
Someday I will do and get married and have a family of my own. I'm happy to be in college. I get that more independent.
Wong breakdances.
I love it.
After twisting upside down, he spins to his feet. Moira leads Fudia into clapping in a circle. Title, quote, I don't know where I'm going from here, but I promise it won't be boring. David Bowie. Missy applauds cheerleaders in a parade. Bechtel.
So many people will dismiss students with disabilities. They'll say just have them stay in high school till they're 21 in a life skills classroom and learn to brush your teeth 30,000 times, like that's going to change.
She high-fives people. Newville.
They're making 1,000 decisions a day about who to have lunch with, about how to dress, about should I go to class, about should I go to the party, about do I go to the football game.
A group marches in unison. Millersville President Daniel Wuba.
We are supposed to educate all our citizens. And students with disabilities are part of our citizenry. So we have that moral imperative to educate them.
He waves from a Jeep in the parade.
My own grandson is autistic.
Missy waves.
He's very bright. All he needs is the opportunity, and he can excel in anything he wants to do.
Curtis.
My parents give me a good dose of kick in the ass because they believe in me 100%. And sometimes I take that for granted.
They smile in a photo.
Mom, if you're watching this, or Dad, you believe in me so much, and I know it's stressful, but I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And ultimately, I want to make you proud of me.
In another photo, Wuba hands Curtis a diploma cover saying Millersville University as they both wear caps and gowns. Brady.
Unfortunately, what we have learned from generation to generation is to not interact with people with disabilities. You know what I do? How can you know me if you don't interact with me? Once we get a place of commonality, we start seeing each other as the same and not necessarily those people.
That was like mad and angry. So I get out, I get tacky.
She goes out in the snow with another young woman.
Go ahead.
She throws a snowball.
Hey.
She bends down to make another as her target runs. She throws it at a young man coming outside, who bends down to make his own. They make more and fight.
We're not gonna get you. Hey!
She chases her first target. They both throw snowballs at the camera. Title, quote, "Once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore." Cesar Chavez. Titles, directed and produced by Dan Habib. Executive producers, Jan Bechtel, Anne-Marie Licata, Thomas Newville. Edited by James Rutenbeck. This film was supported by the Pennsylvania Inclusive Higher Education Consortium, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Education through the acquisition of a Transition and Post-Secondary Programs for Students with Intellectual Disabilities, TPSID, grant. Produced in collaboration with Millersville University and Institute on Disability, UCED, University of New Hampshire. More information, www.millersville.edu/integrated studies, www.temple.edu/Institute on Disabilities, www.pihec.com. Copyright 2020, Millersville University.